He just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
Remember that? Vice President Kamala Harris bragged that she was with the president when he made the decision to pull U.S. troops from Afghanistan. But as the botched withdrawal becomes a full-fledged scandal and Americans and Afghans have been killed and many more left behind to live under Taliban rule, the vice president has been notably absent. And that may be on purpose. An op-ed in The Hill says this, quote, "Since Harris took office, she has yet to hold even one formal solo press conference, not one. It's also been weeks since Harris sat down for a one-on-one interview. There's a reason for that." Emily, there is a reason for that. She made this decision to withdraw from Afghanistan, and she doesn't want to be held accountable.
And the criticism is that this strategy sort of heading into this in the campaign was touting the boxes she checked that the Democrats forced her into, but then now to maintain her on radio silence because, frankly, she doesn't have really the chops to manage this, to handle this, and they're worried about her ad-libbing about these really important issues. Remember, just back in March, however, this administration said, make sure to call it the Biden-Harris administration. So certainly something happened and changed between now and then. But if the White House thinks this strategy is working, they certainly have another think coming because vice presidential polls have never been this low since 1989.
It's right. And our colleague Joe Conca, Julie, calling her the absentee VP. Emily mentions polling. USA Today has her at 35%. I don't think hiding is going to help that number.
No, it certainly isn't. And I mean, if you remember in the past administration under President Trump, Vice President Mike Pence had to hold a news conference and answer some very tough questions regarding the coronavirus and the crisis that this country was facing. This country was under, a lot of crises at that point in time. And we heard from our vice president. We heard from our president. We've heard from President Biden on this, although his answers have been a bit confusing and many untruths have been told in those news conferences. I think the reason that they're not letting Kamala Harris come out is because they're afraid that her awkward laughter will somehow seep through when asked the tough questions of what happened, what was the exit strategy. When you were that last person in the room, what was told, okay, worst case scenario, if this happens and our Americans are trapped, what is our plan? There is no plan, and that's why they don't want her talking, because she'll probably just laugh her way through it awkwardly.
And she did that when she walked up to a group of reporters as Afghanistan started to unravel. She laughed before she addressed those reporters. And and John, that's not what leaders do. They don't laugh and they don't hide. They do what President Trump did. They do what Vice President Pence did. Vice President Pence, as Julie noted, led the coronavirus task force. He was always in my office or someone from his staff saying, we want to address the American people. That's what we were elected to do. That's what a leader does, John, right?
Well, see, this is the thing. We have leaders in the White House right now who have not had the occasion to develop the skill set to understand what it takes to bring people back safely from a combat zone. They don't understand what it takes to make sure that we don't find ourselves in similar situations in the future and that we haven't just created a new generation of terrorists. One of the things that I'm absolutely appalled by, and frankly, we know what Joe Biden has said about black people. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. And just last week calling one of his high-level advisors boy. But actions speak louder than words. And how they're treating Kamala Harris right now, the first female Indian American and black American person of color vice president, is they're showing us, the Biden administration is showing us that black people, people of color, are simply a vehicle to get them reelected. Right now, what we're seeing is Joe Biden gives Kamala Harris the least desirable things he wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, the border crisis. They sent the vice president to Saigon while Afghanistan was collapsing. Joe Biden is the only one who could possibly turn Kamala Harris into a sympathetic figure. This administration is using her specifically because they know they are in the White House on the backs of black people. They know that during the Democratic primary, the only thing that saved Joe Biden from being completely done was a Clyburn endorsement and black people in South Carolina saving his bacon. He understands that he's going into a midterm, and he recognizes that he needed to have a black face on the ticket with him. And he is not showing the respect for Black America, one, of implementing policies that will actually help us long term, and two, both showing and saying exactly how he feels. We should take him at his word and his actions.
Yeah, reprehensible comments you mentioned that President Biden made just last week. Coming to you, Molly, you have Kamala Harris, who, when that directive went out, Emily mentioned, it said in bold that this must be called the Biden-Harris administration, as if she wanted to be attached to the administration and its accomplishments. Do you think they're regretting that directive, or Kamala Harris is? Because I wouldn't really want to be attached to what's going on right now.
Right. I do not blame her at all for wanting to have nothing to do with the debacle of the withdrawal. So if she says that she was part of the decision to follow through with President Trump's exit strategy, but not the debacle, that might be politically safe for her. But I also want to point out that hiding has been very effective for this administration for years. That was the campaign approach taken during the 2020 campaign. The media allowed President Biden and Vice President Harris to hide from the voters, not answer questions, not explain what they would be doing. And it has worked well during this presidency, unlike what we saw in the previous administration, where it was so much discussion that it was almost too much discussion. Hiding has been very effective for them. But I just agree, she does not come off well when she's in difficult waters. She laughs uncomfortably. This is something that has plagued her going back to her days in California. And so it might just be in everybody's interest to keep her away.
No doubt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.